I want to find out a bit more right now about the president's very stern call with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just a little while ago as the ceasefire was hanging in the balance. CNN political and global affairs analyst Barak Ravid is joining us right now. He's also a global affairs correspondent for Axios. Barak, thanks so much for joining us. I want to read what the president posted on his Truth Social site earlier this morning after cursing out both Israel and Iran. He wrote this, and I'm quoting Trump. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Barak, what did you learn about that conversation between Trump and Netanyahu that led to that post?
Hi, Wolf. According to Israeli news official, this call was pretty difficult. One U.S. official told me Trump was very direct and firm with what he told Netanyahu. He basically told Netanyahu abort mission. And Netanyahu, according to Israeli officials, told the president, look, I can't abort mission. The Iranians violated the ceasefire. They fired the missile. I have to do something. So at the end, Netanyahu told Trump that he's going to scale back this attack. And from a list of a dozen targets, many of them in the center of Tehran, at the end, the IDF struck one target, one radar outside of Tehran, which I think it's a pretty unprecedented thing that, you know, the president of the United States goes out in public calling on Israel to abort mission, and Israel doesn't. I think it's quite extraordinary. And if there's one thing that showed us how angry Donald Trump was, is that he used this morning on camera the F word in the context of the Israel-Iran war. And we remember when is the last time Donald Trump used the F word about Benjamin Netanyahu. So I think it shows how angry and frustrated he was.
Do we know what came first, that Iranian strike on that residential apartment building in Beersheba that killed 4 Israelis, or the Israeli strikes that took place in Tehran?
So as far as I understand, according to the sequence of things, the Israeli strikes in Tehran happened before, and the Iranian missile strikes happened afterwards. But according to the timeline that President Trump himself laid out, both were still before the ceasefire came into effect. I think what created the problem was that the Iranians fired the missile one time 6 minutes into the ceasefire. Let's say, that's borderline. But the second time they fired a missile 3 hours into the ceasefire. And while the missile was intercepted, didn't hit anything, it was still, something that Israel saw as a violation and threatened to strike in retaliation in the center of Tehran.
In a statement after the phone call with the president, Prime Minister Netanyahu's office said this, and I'm quoting, "In the conversation, President Trump expressed his great appreciation for Israel, which achieved all of its objectives for the war, as well as his confidence in the stability of the ceasefire," end quote. What objectives is Israel claiming it achieved during the course of the last 12 days?
So I think there's no doubt that Israel achieved almost completely its 2 main objectives, which were, number one, destroying the Iranian nuclear program. I think the program, even if it's not 100% destroyed, it has been severely damaged, and it would take the Iranians a long time to bring this program back to a place where they can even try to produce a nuclear weapon. The other thing is the Iranian ballistic missile program. While the Israelis set out an ambitious goal of, removing this threat completely, they did not. But they, I think, degraded Iranian ballistic missile capabilities significantly. At least 50%, maybe even 60% of Iran's launchers were destroyed. A lot of Iran's ballistic missile production lines have been destroyed, and Iran is in a different place on its ballistic missile capability today.
Let me just get a final quick answer from you, Barak. You agree with me that President Trump seemed more anti-Israel than he was anti-Iranian in his public remarks this morning?
I don't know if he was anti-Israel, but he was definitely putting the onus on the Israeli side. There is no doubt about it.
A White House source says the president held a firm and direct call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after those comments. Minutes later, Mr. Trump took to social media posting, "Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran." Israel says it refrained from additional strikes after that conversation. Earlier, it says it struck a radar site north of Tehran. And Iran fired a missile into the residential building in the Israeli town of Beersheva before the ceasefire took effect. Israel says at least 4 people were killed. Well, CNN's Jeff Zeleny is in Washington, D.C. With us this hour for the reaction. And Jeremy, pretty extraordinary to see the President of the United States using that kind of language against an ally in the form of Israel, one of its closest allies. But clearly it has had an effect.